Hi, here's Julie for another episode 3 exactly. Today I would like to talk about the duality that is happening in each and every one of us, but especially I would like to share with you the duality that I have been facing, pretty much all my life. It's very interesting because if I recall, I have always this memory of me running in primary school after the boy, and wanting this attention, and physically running. So we are in the middle of the recreation place, and I run after them. There is this need of attention. This need of attention is often when we have gone through maybe some rejection or abandonment that is lodged, deeply in the subconscious mind. Anyway, why I'm sharing this is because it is important to talk about it because I think we are in a world where we are experiencing duality. It's in everything. It's the pole, the north, the south, is the yin and the yang, it is the positive, the negative, the light, the shadow, the ego, the soul. It's in everything. And why I want to talk about it is because often we try to separate this part of us. We try to avoid, especially the pole that has been categorized as negative or that has been some things we have been trained to push on the side. And so it's been very interesting because in the past year or so, there is many things that, I always have things that come within myself, a deep awakening or realization because I work on myself. Like I help people on their journey. I have to be able to face myself every day, to look at my own belief system, to actually being able to lodge and I would say help people find their blockage or their limiting belief system for them to really being empowered and get free from it. But I don't see that as some things to, you know, want to escape or want to push aside because it is part of our experience as a soul in a human body. We came here to learn what duality is. We came to learn what are the different emotions that have been put over time by society in different boxes. And what I want to share with you today, it's again a new lens to look into all of this. So if I share a bit of my story around duality, I always have felt that I will be someone or that I wanted to be someone. And that is really subconscious, When I wanted to become a dancer, I had no one in my family which danced. So I didn't pick that up from anybody around me. And it's interesting, we're talking about duality, and my puppy behind me is, if you might hear her, she is actually showing this side as well. She's very interesting because she always pick up on the energy that I work with myself personally or with client or what I talk about. So it's so interesting that she is working through her own things right now and it's always interesting. Anyway, so always have felt within me that I was going to be someone. I needed to be someone, but it's very subconscious. It's only now, in my 30s that I can put the finger on that. I can see this energy within me. This could be my Leo ascendant rising sign. It could be that wanting to be in the, the spotlight, but not being able to find a way to the expectation I have leverage myself, because we need to be very clear with that. With the sense of abandonment, rejection, there is a coping mechanism of survival that developed in those people. And for me, it has been perfectionism. We all have our own. Under perfectionism is so interesting because it's a sense of control. When you have been abandoned or rejected, you have had no control over the situation. And therefore, you develop this other sense of survival. Realize this. If you remove perfectionism, it means you don't have a sense of control. If you remove the sense of control in a person, which is like a crouches, an external crouch to actually be able to move in life, then the person finds themselves in danger. And finding themselves in danger could be that they die. Because if you think about abandonment, about a baby, just think about a baby that have had that sense of being abandoned. And this can be from the simple things. It could be, a parent that was going through postpartum, a parent that couldn't breastfeed, a parent that needed to work full time and was not present the way, it can be very simple. It doesn't need to be a huge story around this. So yes, there is deep abandonment where the dad or the mom leave the baby, and this is even deeper. But it can be developed on there's really small scales. And I want you to remember this because I think in life we forget that. We forget that the experience of somebody might not become a trauma. So for example, it could be that a simple things like this in the life of someone create a trauma for the person, and a person who have been abandoned doesn't develop it as a traumatic experience. So again, we cannot say, oh, well, you have experienced this, so therefore my experience is not valid. Absolutely not. Yes, there is more dramatic experience than other that happen in life, but it doesn't mean they have less impact in the life of a person. And also, your level of, your level of trauma will reflect the level of your experience. So if someone experiences always some really horrific trauma or experience, it will be placed on that for them. But someone who might always have experienced trauma on a lower level, it doesn't mean that it's not the same intensity for the person. It's just they don't know something else. That is their own experience. And I think it's very important to remember that, because I do feel often, be like, oh my God, there is people on the other side of the world, they are experiencing this. So what am I complaining about? But it doesn't mean your experience is not valid. It's not because you haven't experienced being in a war or, not having like certain basic met in your life that your experience is not as strong on your level. I do feel what is beautiful to reflect on what's happening, in other countries of our life or other life, or looking in the garden of somebody else, is that we have more compassion and can also look at the gratitude and be grateful of what is happening in our life. So anyway, why I want to come back to this duality is because when you develop that sense of perfectionism, like I have, it's like your bar sets very high. You have very deep and high expectation for yourself. You don't know and you cannot comprehend there might be another way around. For you, if you don't reach that level, there is something that is not good enough. You haven't done enough. And so therefore, if your success is not appearing in your life, it's always because you have not done enough. And look at the cycle that can perpetuate with that. Is what lead, people to burnout, because they go, 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 go until they see the success. The problem with this is that even when they reach a goal that they had in their mind, it's not even enough. It's never going to be enough. And so it is very interesting because I had an epiphany happening like maybe about 3 months ago. Something very clear came to me. It was at the moment I had an insight, intuitive or not, of what I needed to do in my life. I was then projecting this. And that is often beautiful because it's what keep you motivated about the goal. The problem with that is that if the plan you have in your mind that you have developed from the inside you received, because of the expectation that lies within your subconscious mind, then you start to be resentful and start to also look at what is wrong with you. Why others are getting there and not me? What am I not doing enough that others are doing? But then you have to remember that what that inside have perpetuated in you might not absolutely be linked to the projection you have set yourself in. That is your mind that created that. The universe have sent you a message. But what this is going to create in your life might have nothing to do with the projection you have put that. It might be to lead you on a journey or meet a person or having to reach one person's heart. And so what happened with that is when you see that the projection you have created in your mind is not happening, then you start to lose faith. You lose the trust in the universe. But the universe never promised you what you have projected for your future. It just sent you an intuition, an insight. And so I want you to remember that, because what often happens with that is that when we have a projection of the mind, it's beautiful because it motivates us to keep going. The problem is like often we miss all the elements from the insight we receive. And sometimes we can be taken on a journey that might have nothing to do with the insight we have taken. I always trust that no matter what way we take in life, the universe will bring us exactly what we need to bring us back to where we need to be. So to me, there is no right or wrong decision. It's why, this duality of, oh my God, am I going to make the wrong decision? Is it bad, the direction I'm going into? I don't believe in that. I believe, there is one trajectory and you might get to another place. It's like my logo, it's like you have a straight line, but then you have the unalome. And the unalome is showing that actually you need to deviate from the course of your life to gain all the elements you need to arrive where you need to be, which is enlightenment, let's say. And so it's super interesting because what that does is that often when you project some things in your mind is that you are unable to see the element that the universe continue to actually give you. And also, it often, what happens, it make you not enjoy the journey because you're so focused on what you need to achieve. And I would like you to remind yourself this. When you have an insight, it's great to have a projection, but then let go. Let go. You might have a dream, have that vision of the dream, and then let it go. Let it go and let life take you there or take you where you need to be, because often what you thought will come completely differently. And we can talk about that with manifestation as well. I'm channeling here and I have some things that came in. I remember like years ago, that's when I had my massage clinic in Wellington, and I was looking at the professional dance school here And I remember saying to the universe, I want to work there. But in my mind, I was like, I'm going to work there as a massage therapist or as a choreographer. And then 6 years later, I actually got a job there, and it was nothing to do with that. It was as student support. And it's so interesting because if I had continued to block myself in the perception of what I wanted, I might not have seen the sign when it came to apply for this position. Which, by the way, I had absolutely no idea what it was about, but I knew I was meant for that job. And I remember looking at the ad and be like, advertise, sorry. Do I apply? No. Oh, I need to apply. Oh, no, don't apply. Until I did apply. But I think I went back and forth 10 times. And it was so interesting because that's what led me to become a holistic counselor. And so, it's so interesting because I will never, ever have expected to become a holistic counselor. But I will say to you that my primary teacher always said to my parents, Julie is going to be a psychologist. I'm not a psychologist, but I have learned psychology and I have all the background as a counselor and, human science and all of that. But it's so, so interesting because in my heart, all I wanted is to be a dancer, actually a star dancer. And I can remember me drawing this, always drawing this picture of this dancer with the star at the top, because I always saw myself becoming someone. And lately, something that came into me was, I don't need to be anybody. I don't need to be anybody. It's so bizarre. But I was like, you have created amazing things, Julie. And I really want to take a moment to really see that about myself, because often as a perfectionist, I always say, oh, it's not good enough. But this is untrue. This is what my belief system have been set on because of the experience that I had as a child, or even if we go even deeper, as my root lineage and all of that I have carried along the way. That over the episode, I'm sure I'm going to come to talk about all of that, because I know I'm talking not specifically about what I have gone through, but I know it will come. Maybe not today, and it's okay. But so it's so interesting that lately I'm like, I want to take a moment, Julie, to acknowledge all that you have created. And it did touch the heart of people who needed it. But because I projected what it was going to be, I couldn't appreciate what I created. And now I can, because I'm like, it did touch people. All of the work I have done so far have touched people. And doesn't matter if it touched one or a million, it doesn't matter. The insight that I received was for those people who found me along the way. And I think if you can remember that it takes one little seed to change the life of someone. And remember, you need, in general, 8 seeds of the similar energy for a person to really feel this. So you might not be the last seed that awakened the person, but you might be part of it. So keep being who you need to be. That's the message. Keep being the person that you need to be, but let yourself become what your soul have come to experience. Because the duality here is the ego. And so instead of fighting with the ego, let it merge with your soul and let it learn the light that your soul came here on earth to experience. Because the ego will find union. And that is the yin and the yang. That is the Big Bang. That is the creation of the universe. is the two pole meeting to create balance, harmony, and peace within. So I'm going to leave you with this today. I hope this message touched a part of yourself that needed this reminder, because you probably within you already know this. But I just felt it needed to be shared. And I'm sending you so much love. And I look forward to seeing you in another episode soon. You take care. Bye.